Could Light Yagami catch L's old adversary beyond birthday? Someone who attempted to challenge L with a case that he could never solve. Someone who was born into the world with the Shinigami eyes, a gift that allows the user to see people's real names and lifespans. This is very significant considering in the Death Note universe, in order to gain these powerful eyes, you have to not only be a holder of the Death Note, but you need to give up half of your remaining lifespan to gain this power. This scenario takes place during the time that Light Yagami had his memories of being Kira wiped, and was chasing after the new Kira, or Higuchi. However, in this case, Rem decided to drop the Death Note into another person's hands. The Death Note this time falls into Beyond Birthday's hands. Beyond Birthday would pick up the Death Note and easily use it. He would have no reason not to, as it would make his killings much more easier. But he would still kill the specific victims he targeted in the BB murder case, to further gather more attention from L. The Death Note would just speed up this process, however, and make L lock onto him more. This scenario contains a light that is far different from the one we are all familiar with, aka Memory Wiped Light or Good Light. Good Light's sense of justice is far stronger compared to Evil Light. Let's compare this to when L asked Good Light to use his relationship with Misa to gather intel, and Good Light was basically furious at the evil/Kira Light, who had used his abilities of charisma and manipulation, and he doesn't use those talents for evil. That's basically what he's saying. A good example of this would be with his proposal, as he states, "I would never use the relationship to manipulate anyone." This can be compared to a Light with all his memories intact, where he doesn't mind manipulating Misa for his gain, even going as far as to manipulate her into making the ideal again. Light with his memories intact is a psychopath and hypocrite, or more like a narcissist, compared to Memory Wipes Light, who has a strong moral code and wants justice to prevail. If you're enjoying this video so far, please subscribe. Many people may think that Light Yagami replacing L in the LA BB murder cases would make things far more challenging, but I personally don't believe so. Light is by no means inferior to L, and it's a constant debate even after Death Note has ended as to who is smarter. Light was someone who was able to outwit L numerous times during part 1 of Death Note, whether it be using note cards that would basically lead L to a dead end, or manipulating a Shinigami, a god of death, into sacrificing her life, and in exchange killing L, and that isn't even all of the crazy feats he has pulled off. And that includes that whole switching his mind plan, and that's where he is right now. Light would be more than capable of replacing L as the lead investigator in the LA BB murder cases, but it's not a question of intelligence or feats. The question is simply, could Light Yagami catch Beyond Birthday? Beyond Birthday isn't someone to be underestimated either. Beyond Birthday is known as a former student of Wammy's house, an institution that gathers gifted children and nurtures them into capable successors for L. It's revealed in the novel that BB was a part of the first generation of Wammy's house, along with a student by the name of A. A was unable to handle the pressure of succeeding L and killed himself, but B was able to survive and left Wammy's house at an unknown point in time, which leads up to the LA BB murder cases, where he challenges L by designing an unsolvable case so that he can win. This was done due to the fact that to be considered a win for L, he needs to prove who the suspect is or the evidence of the whole case. The problem with the solving of the LA BB murder case, however, is whether or not Light is able to pick up on the trail that BB leaves behind at the crime scenes. Light wouldn't have time to waste, as the entire case is already planned out by Beyond Birthday. As the more clues that get solved, the closer Light will get, which in turn leads Beyond Birthday to enact his final step of the plan, with it being to burn himself to death so badly that nobody would be able to identify his corpse, thus making the case unsolvable. However, with Naomi Misora available in the scenario, perhaps Light may be able to solve the case. Naomi isn't a slacker when it comes to intelligence, as she was able to deduce early on that Kira could kill by other methods aside from heart attacks. Now, the way that I see it, there are two scenarios that could go down. Scenario A, Light does not have the knowledge on Wammy's Beyond Birthday. Before Light could even get started on solving the case, he would have to search across the world via different news sources to locate where the killings are happening. Wammy's house children have the ability to absorb a significant quantity of information at once. This skill is most notable in L, Mello, and Nier. L is depicted in numerous cases to be able to hold a large amount of information. Usually, he has been solving different cases at the same time, or you see in the Kira case that L does watch some monitors, and in the data book it states that L can probably do as much as Nier, if not more. It really depends on brain capacity. It just depends if you think L has more brain capacity than Nier. There's actually a hidden plot in the LA BB murder case novel, as BB manipulated the media into broadcasting news about his murders by purposely making his crimes nebulous, complex, and strange. This would guarantee that L would notice them and take the bait, which then leads to L sending Naomi to investigate. But the thing is, Light doesn't seemingly have access to this unique brain capacity ability. It seems very special to Wammy's house, and if you consider that Light was actually smarter than L, it doesn't kind of make sense if he can't do it, since it's about brain capacity. However, if it is literally just a Wammy house unique ability to just L, Nier, and maybe someone else like Matt, then yeah, it's probable he might, but no. We haven't seen any feats of him doing it, so therefore he's featless in this brain capacity of holding numerous monitors, so it might be a bit troublesome here. However, if you want to take the headcanon that the brain capacity thing does just apply to a smart person, then Light should be able to do it. Light obviously isn't a student of Wammy's house, has never been able to shown to replicate this ability, so yeah, he is featless. Even if Light asks L for help on how to learn this ability, time isn't on Light's side. L was able to step into the scene the exact day that the murders started to gain popularity, with the monitor hacks, which was already on August 13th. This is a significant date in the novel due to the timeline that B had already constructed. To understand this murder timeline, B had preemptively thought of an inconsistent murder schedule, allowing him to control L into passing on information to Naomi, which would end up completely fooling her on the final date of the killings. How did he do so, you may ask? Let us retrace it fully. At the very beginning, B had been looking for a location which would fit the criteria regarding the preparations leading into his final suicide. B stumbled across a condominium in LA, which was matriculated with the construction approval register of 061550. He'd end up scanning the building looking for BB residence. Keep in mind that B had planned all along to use victims whose initial had the form of link to the letter B. This little pattern would evidently occur to any sufficiently intelligent investigator that the killer had been obsessed with the letter B, especially considering that B would have been leading whoever was inspecting the crime scenes with him into noting the alternative initials pattern. Using his Shinigami eyes, he had been able to form this, and he found 2, Blackberry Brown and Blue Harp, Baby Split. Curiously, when lining up the numbers 1 and 3 together, 1 obtained a shape resembling the letter B, because the occupying room with Blackberry Brown was 1313 and Blue Harps was 404. 1 plus 3 equals 13. 13 equals B. 1313 BB. 4 equals 1 plus 3 equals 13. 13B. And with this math formula, again you get 1313 equals BB. However, once this deciphering method would have been discovered by L and his pawns, they'd obviously notice the inductive process behind room 404, and it is much too ambiguous to be seriously considered as the prime target for the killer. Again, keep in mind that B had killed 1 victim each time, meaning that in the mind of L and his pawns, only 1 of either Blackberry Brown or Blue Harp Baby Split would end up dying. Approaching this problem rationally, the person living in room 1313 would simply seem like the likely prey. This is exactly Naomi's thought process in the novel when she and B arrive at the condominium according to B's plan. But B had anticipated this and formulated an insanely strong long-term stratagem which would allow him to give room 404 the necessary backing to be feasibly factored in by L and his pawns. For this decorated misdirection to occur, B had been mapping out his murders on a specific timeline, and the point where this is unfolding in the novel, Naomi and L had already discovered the intricacies behind the dates. B needed 5 dates to encompass within his plan, with each indicating an important milestone which L and his pawns would not be able to disregard. July 22nd, the beginning of the LABB murder case, crossword puzzle. July 31st, the first murder. August 4th, the second murder. August 13th, the third murder. August 22nd, the 4th murder, B's suicide, and the end of the LABB murders. Of course, B would need to make those dates fit with the 13B formula, otherwise his whole ploy falls apart, considering that there are only a few dates which can actually be deciphered with said formula, albeit without overly stretching it. L and his pawns would be forced into obtaining and predicting the same and exact agenda which B had imagined, with all of these mathematical formulas on the screen right here and some of the explanation. When all of these dates are attached to make up one sequence, the intervals between each dates, but why conceptualize a completely inconsistent pattern of intervals when, quite frankly, it shouldn't change much? Why not choose the 17th and 26th of August as potential dates, considering that they can also be selected with the 13 equals B formula? The answer is room 404. Keep the intervals in mind. Consider the digits as sets, add them up, and 1 obtains 444, 999, 0, digit discarded in the process of addition. The sequence now becomes balanced with the room number of Blue Harp Baby Split, Both rooms now have the relevance and credence required for the pawns to fall for B's trap. B knew that L would be hunting him down once he gave the signs of his challenge, especially considering the fact that Watari had told L of B's disappearance. In truth, BB was completely ready for that eventually. He even purposely dropped painfully obvious hints to L to show that he was involved, such as his alias, Ryu Ryuzaki, LL, or the initials of each victim, BB. B knew that one way or another, whether it was through his pawns or by his own deductions, L would obtain the necessary information to ascertain that B was engaging with him. L would be forced into scrutinizing every aspect of B's plan, looking for additional hints or other preempts or messages which he could have left behind for him to decipher. At some point in time, L would fall on the murder timeline. He'd been able to decipher the timeline using the 13B formula. These are all factors which B had anticipated. Acknowledging the intervals between the dates 949 and assuming the pattern holds some form of continuity, the next date would have to be August 17th, August 13th plus 4. However, L would dismiss it, understanding that it has no connection to the letter B without having to stretch the deciphering formula. L would thus posit August 22nd as the soonest possible date for B to commit his final killing. B had deliberately chosen dates which held significance in regards to his own initials, anticipating that L would notice the pattern. Having known weeks in advance that L would be regularly in contact with Naomi, B knew that the answer to the schedule being in the final date, which had been found by L, would undoubtedly be transmitted to her eventually. B had foreseen that L would tell Naomi that the final date is to be the 22nd and not the 17th, as she thought, and that she would use the exact same reasoning as L to figure out why, once she had been given the answer. B had thus been able to make Naomi confidently assert the date of the last killing by using L's induction, which in turn would allow him to make her bear witness to his staged and camouflaged death eventually. But it doesn't stop there. As previously established, the fact that he had chosen the 22nd as the last date also directly carries into play regarding his final death. With the sequence factoring in August 22nd, as well as respective intervals in mind, B would be able to isolate Naomi from him in the last act, using the variations in his schedule by linking them room 404 as shown above. So what does this mean? Weeks in advance, B had anticipated by deduction that 1. L would scrutinize the entire composition of his plan. 2. L would fall on his disposition of the murder timeline and inspect the intervals between the dates. 3. L would find out about the 13 equals B formula and apply it to the dates. 4. L would reject the possibility of the fourth murder being on the 17th or 26th of August. 5th, L would transmit the information to his pawns, forcing them to posit the 22nd of August as the final date. 6. L and his pawns would accept the 22nd as the final date and therefore also implicitly accept the fact that the intervals between the dates are 9 to 4 to 9 to 9. 7. L's pawns would abide by B's preparations and head to the building in question on the date carefully, cherry-picked by B at the appropriate moment. B would successfully use L's own intelligence and preempts, anticipating his thought process to the last-minute detail, to indirectly manipulate him into disclosing the date, and by extension, although unbeknownst to all of them at the time, the logic behind the intervals to his pawns, allowing him to skillfully isolate, corner, and misdirect the pawns into leaving him unchecked when the time would come with the use of mere numbers. Now you may be asking yourself, how does this relate to Light Yagami? Light would also need 3 days to send in Naomi, his pawn to B, in order for both B and Naomi to investigate the 3 crime scenes within 3 days. This is because L and Misora were under the impression that the 4th and final murder would occur on the 17th, abiding by the 9 to 4, 9 to 4 pattern. L conveys this news to Misora as soon as L locates the area where the murders are occurring, and solves the crossword puzzle that BB sent to the LAPD. It would take Light far too long to search and locate the exact area where the LAPD murder cases are occurring, so therefore, it's pretty hard in this scenario. Does scenario B have more for Light? Scenario B is Light does have knowledge on Wammy's and B. To be generous, let's say that Light is aware of Wammy's and BB as a person. Would this change anything at all? Well, sadly no. Light having knowledge on BB would be helpful, assuming he could actually find BB, but yet again, the problem is that Light doesn't have the monitor hacks, which helped L locate BB in the first place. So yeah, Light replacing L for the BB murder case just doesn't work out for Light Yagami. However, how would it go if they versed each other in a battle of just raw intelligence and outsmarting? Well, I'll do a video for that next time. Thanks for watching.